In Ukraine, Russian armored vehicles are being torn apart by wooden drones? No, they aren't composed of advanced space metal or carbon fiber. They are AI-guided and constructed of plywood. Yes, plywood, the same material used for the backs of cabinets or inexpensive furniture. These plywood drones are breaching Russian defenses, destroying radar systems, and colliding with tanks. It's cheap and destructive, and they're doing it all in silence. Germany has completely changed the rules of contemporary warfare. The fourth largest economy in the world is assisting Ukraine in striking far beyond enemy lines using wooden drones rather than ostentatious jets or expensive missiles. Astute and lethal. Although it sounds absurd, it is a nightmare for Putin's ground forces. We'll demonstrate to you today how these wooden drones turned into one of Ukraine's most lethal weapons. Welcome to Military Agenda. Germany is providing Ukraine with some of its most sophisticated attack drones, and both on and beyond the front lines, they are beginning to really annoy Russian President Vladimir Putin. We are discussing the German company Helsing's HF-1 loitering munitions. We'll soon learn that these drones are equipped with advanced technology that provides them a competitive advantage. Their plywood structure is their most distinctive feature. It's straightforward. Don't be duped, though. That merely makes them less expensive, not any less lethal. From logistics and warehouses to armored vehicles and air defense systems, the HF-1s are being utilized against a variety of targets. Ukrainian drone operators claim that the HF-1s, which have an effective operational range of 43 to 50 kilometers, are surprising the Russians by unexpectedly arriving at more remote locations behind the front lines. This enables the operators to eliminate targets such as troops or vehicles that are parked without any protection. As previously stated, the HF-1 is mostly constructed from pressed plywood, which lowers the cost of manufacturing the weapon. Although one operator clarified that the material the plane is constructed of isn't actually important, one may imagine that such a light and delicate material wouldn't hold up in combat. Anything as long as it can fly can be used. The aeroplane doesn't care if it's built of foam, wood, totally 3D printing, or another material. The less expensive, the better. Since wood is more suitable for long-distance missions and is radar transparent, it is even better in our situation. Its plywood fuselage reduces radar visibility and serves as a thermal insulator, which lowers the drone's infrared signature and makes it more difficult for air defenses to detect and attack it using armament systems, radar, or heat-seeking missiles. Furthermore, in spite of its peculiar construction, the wooden body has no effect whatsoever on flight performance. The German Ministry of Defense claims that Ukraine has already received 150 HF-1 drones. An additional 150 were sent between March 17th and April 18th, while 600 were known to have been dispatched in January. Ukraine reportedly ordered 4,000 HF-1 drones, which were paid for by Germany, according to the manufacturer Helsing. As evidenced by an attack on a vehicle at a Russian training camp that purportedly belonged to a commander, HF-1 drones have also been used to eliminate important Russian military figures, such as officers and commanders. The electric-powered HF-1 drone has an X-shaped wing setup, with 4 wings and rotors arranged in an X pattern. Better stability and control are provided by this X-wing shape, particularly during maneuvers and when alternating between vertical and horizontal flight. Additionally, it improves aerodynamic efficiency, reduces vibrations, and better manages crosswinds. Additionally, it uses less energy throughout longer flights and can sometimes keep the drone operating even in the event of an engine failure. Because it provides greater performance and safety, this configuration is frequently found in military drones and hybrid VTOs. The drone's operational range is 50 kilometers, and when directed towards a known target, it can reach up to 100 kilometers. It can fly for around an hour. The HF-1 drone may be manually controlled by Ukrainian forces, who can direct it towards their present targets and use terminal guidance to avoid Russian electronic warfare during the last stages of the flight. Would Russian anti-drone weapons that interfere with GPS signals and remote controls be able to take down these drones with ease? After all, many simple military or commercial drones are destroyed before they ever reach their targets, and Russia makes significant investments in electronic warfare. What makes these drones still functional then? Their design holds the key to the solution. In the last stage of flight, the drone employs onboard sensors like cameras, radar, or infrared to visually identify and hit the target, even if all external signals are blocked. Drones such as the HF-1 use terminal guidance, a technique that allows the drone to navigate on its own. Therefore, the drone uses inertial navigation with gyroscopes and accelerometers to continue flying, even if the GPS signal is cut off and the remote control is lost due to electronic warfare. Eventually, it activates its terminal guidance to see and hit the target on its own. Bypassing electronic interference in this manner, it significantly raises the mission's odds of success. Imagine thousands of wooden drones flying in the sky like a swarm of bees if Putin is having trouble with only one that seems to have a mind of its own and flies on its own. Its successor accomplishes precisely that. The HX-2 was created from the bottom up to be mass-produced, software-based, and drone-swarming capable. It performs all of the functions of its predecessor and much more. The HX-1 is a drone that requires individual control, meaning that each unit requires a specialized operator. Because each drone needs your undivided attention, this restricts how much you can scale up operations. Here, however, the HX-2 is a step ahead. Multiple drones can be controlled simultaneously by a single operator. This enables a small team to control numerous drones at once, greatly increasing the system's efficiency for large-scale missions. Imagine being able to simultaneously operate hundreds of drones with a single operator. This feature reduces the number of personnel required to oversee sizable drone fleets simultaneously and increases operational efficiency. Automation and swarm operating capabilities have advanced significantly. The HX-2 is a powerful addition to artillery settings because it can be produced in large quantities at a far cheaper cost per unit than conventional systems. The HX-2 can serve as a potent barrier against enemy ground forces and invasions when widely placed along a border. Even without continuous communication with a human operator, the HX-2 drones are made to hunt and attack targets on their own. They can recognize, re-identify, and engage targets in situations where there is a lot of electronic interference, such as GPS jamming and blocking remote control signals, thanks to their internal artificial intelligence. They are hence impervious to hostile electronic warfare tactics. Even with this autonomy to prevent catastrophes, they still require human oversight for crucial decisions like authorization and attack. This implies that even if the drone is capable of autonomous navigation and target detection, a human operator remains involved to authorize lethal actions and make sure they adhere to operational and ethical guidelines. To put it briefly, the HX-2 offers a successful defense against complex electronic defenses and permits coordinated large-scale operations by fusing advanced autonomy with human control of crucial decisions. Although it's unclear, Ukraine has purchased 6,000 HX-2s in total. Of course, how many have been delivered thus far? In addition to the HX-1 and HX-2 deliveries, Ukraine is increasing its domestic manufacture of the US-designed Switchblade 600 drones. The Switchblade drones were designed as a less expensive and lighter substitute for the Javelin anti-tank missiles, which cost around half as much. The soldier points the thermal sight at the target, which is typically a tank, and locks onto the heat it emits. This is how the Javelin operates. The missile strikes the tank from above, where the armor is weaker, after being locked and arcing over in what is known as a top attack mode. There are two warheads on the missile. The reactive armor, which consists of the boxes surrounding the tank, is activated by the first warhead. Before the second warhead detonates and pierces the primary armor, they serve as a shield that prevents the armor from being pierced. The cost of a single Javelin shot is approximately $200,000, or 1 million rays. The Javelin and the Switchblade 600 operate on the same principles. It is equipped with a Michio-based warhead that is guided by a FGM-148 Javelin anti-tank missile. The drone is extremely effective against armored objects since it flies above and explodes the warhead above the target, where the armor is weakest. Its effectiveness has previously been demonstrated by eliminating Russia's most sophisticated armored vehicles, such as the T-90M tanks and Terminator infantry fighting vehicles, within a range of 40 to 80 kilometers and with a flight duration of more than 40 minutes. What's the best part? The price of a Switchblade 600 is only $70,000. The operator must be relatively close to the target, typically within 2.5 kilometers, to kill a tank, putting them at risk from artillery, drones, and counterattacks, even though a Javelin is still more dependable when it comes to completing the task. The Switchblade 600, on the other hand, keeps the user considerably safer. It may be launched from a great distance, well behind the front lines, thanks to its 40-kilometer range. However, when it comes to tanks with active armor or anti-drone systems, it is less accurate than the Javelin. Each weapon has advantages and disadvantages. Even at the smallest tactical levels, Ukraine's anti-tank and deep strike capabilities will be greatly enhanced by the increase of their use in units. In contrast to a Javelin system, this drone is portable, set up, and operational in less than 10 minutes. It has sophisticated precision flight control and excellent high-resolution sensors. These capabilities enable operators to fly, track, and strike targets beyond of their field of vision, eliminating armored vehicles with deadly precision. These drones aren't limited to eliminating infantry, tanks, and armored vehicles. That would be like using a bucket to try to empty the ocean. They are employed to significantly impair Russian planning and logistics. Early on, Ukraine understood that it couldn't compete with Russia firepower for gunfire or tank for tank. So they used drones as a strategic weapon to attack logistics, which is an army's weakest point. It has also been effective. Napoleon and other well-known military strategists have made similar statements. Eisenhower claimed that while professionals discuss logistics, amateurs discuss tactics. The army depends on military logistics to function. Russian troops, tanks, and missiles will continue to stream into Ukrainian land if it is not removed, providing soldiers with food, ammunition, gasoline, clothing, weapons, replacement parts, transportation, shelter, and even medical attention is the main goal of logistics. The war machine comes to a complete stop without it. Drones are a very powerful tool that Ukraine has been utilizing to attack Russian supplies. One of the key elements keeping the battle in balance has been this: the Russian war machine deteriorates even with fewer soldiers if they are unable to provide their soldiers with food, ammunition, fuel, and spare parts. And the Ukrainians have been concentrating on that very thing. With massive ammunition, fuel, and equipment reserves, Russian logistics begin on their own soil. From there, goods are mostly transported by trains, which provide everything to regions close to the Ukrainian border. The supplies are then transported to the combat units via military trucks. Russia mostly depends on the last leg via road since they find it difficult to feed the front line straight by railway. At that point, the system begins to malfunction. Ukraine starts at the beginning of the chain and targets this system in multiple ways. Still within Russia, long-range drones strike train stops, depots, and refineries. Fuel and ammunition deliveries are halted or delayed when a refinery burns down or a railway line is destroyed. Advanced logistical centers in seized areas like Donetsk, Luhansk, and particularly Crimea are also targeted by the Ukrainians. Everything is kept in these hubs, which are huge warehouses, before being transported to the front lines. These locations have been precisely removed using kamikaze drones. Hundreds of tons of ammunition can be destroyed by a single explosion at a single storage, rendering entire fronts inoperable for days. Drones are also used to pursue trucks and convoys individually. Drones fly low and explode exactly where they are supposed to, making these strikes akin to air ambushes. Many of these videos depict Russian trucks being struck far from the action, well behind the lines. As a result, Russian tanks on the front line frequently become caught without ammunition or gasoline while they wait for undelivered reinforcements. An army without supplies is like a body without blood. On the outside, it may appear sturdy, but on the inside, it is disintegrating. When there is insufficient food or drink, morale quickly declines. Discipline is messed up by exhaustion, hunger, and despair. Soldiers begin to fear, refuse commands, or leave their posts. The prevalence of surrender and desertion increases. Perhaps that explains why so many Russian soldiers are surrendering. It's a folly to believe that excluding soldiers from combat is the only way to win a war, particularly in nations that don't hesitate to send forces even after suffering significant losses. Soldiers can be replaced. Destroying a supply line, a fuel depot, or an ammunition warehouse, however, is different because it affects the army's overall capacity to continue fighting. And without drones, none of this would be as successful, my friends. Ukraine is able to swiftly, precisely, and economically target the weak points in Russian logistics thanks to drones. Prior to the rise in popularity of drones, costly airstrikes using aircraft or missiles were required to destroy infrastructure, convoys, or supply depots. However, drones, particularly low-cost plywood drones, can be launched in large quantities, are difficult to identify and shoot down, and enable targeted strikes. Additionally, drones can be used for both scouting and assaulting, providing real-time information that aids special forces and artillery in hitting their targets. These are the most important supply chain components. Ukraine would not have been able to continuously and effectively wear down Russian logistics without drones. Drones have reduced Russia's technological and numerical edge, transforming the fight into one in which precision, creativity, and intelligence are crucial. To put it another way, drones not only increased Ukraine's offensive capability, but also revolutionized logistical warfare by enabling quick and affordable attacks against a considerably more formidable foe. To help us out, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video. Click the video that appears on your screen to learn how Ukraine was able to use kamikaze drones on a Russian train without the Russians noticing. I hope to see you there. Take care, and I'll see you later.